Alright, so now we're going to be looking at some siding in terms of taking measurements of that and figuring out what to put on the scope of work. So when you look at the siding we have here, you'll see this in some of your markets, but really it's the same concept if you're measuring cedar or pine or something like this, which is a fiber cement product that you see on the house that we're looking at. You can see there's seams in the siding. They're obviously not all one board across the entire house. So you always want to pull seam to seam as far as the tape, because when we're doing spot repair, you never want to create another seam. And what I mean by that is if you look at, for example, this seam here, you can see that it runs to the edge of the house there, and it's only a 6.5 foot board. So what I mean by not creating another seam is we would not want to, if it was just rotten here, we would not want to splice this out and just cut in a little 3-foot section. If it's already to an existing seam, it just makes sense to take that entire board out. So if there was just a little section of rot here, we would take out that entire 6-foot board. So that's what you'd want to put on your scope of work, and that's what you'd want to assume our carpenter is going to do, as well as what you'd want to talk to the customer about. As far as pulling tape on that, there's a few things around siding. This is lap siding, so the width of the board is not fully seen here because it's nailed on top of each other. And so what you're looking at here, if you pull tape, this is called the reveal, and you can see that it pulls it right at about 5.5. And so the board itself is actually a 7-inch board, so it goes to about here, and then that's how they secure in and lap on top of each other. And so the reveal is a term you need to know in terms of just what the width of it is and what it's pulling tape for. The other term you need to know is the linear footage when you're measuring siding. So if we were doing this board here, as I mentioned before, see if I can get it sideways for you. You can see that that pulls right at 77 inches. If you want to put that on your scope of work, you can. You could also just put 6.5 of the linear footage. You'd want to do that for every board that you find, and then you'd also need the width as well, and get the thickness of it. So if you go on the bottom side there and pull that out, you can see what that's going to measure at, and that's going to be different on different types of siding as well. So it's the exact same 3 measurements that you need when you're pulling tape on siding as well. There's just a few caveats to it that are a little bit different.